When it comes to investing capital into a company, two very commonly used terms come to mind: shares and share certificates. While shares are used as instruments for investing capital, share certificates provide a conclusive proof of such investment to the investor. In this video, I will explain the meaning and discuss all the compliances related to share certificates issued by companies in India. But before I begin, let me first introduce myself. Hi, I am Tushar Bakshi, a startup advisor at Setindiabiz, where we provide tax, compliance and IPR services to businesses across India. Our discussion in this video will cover the following topics. Number 1. Meaning of share certificates. 2. Detailed content and format of share certificates. 3. Process of issue of share certificates. 4. Process of stamping of share certificates. 5th. Documents required for stamping of share certificates. And 6th. Stamp duty paid on stamping of share certificates. So we have a lot to discuss, so let us begin without any delay. Number 1. What are share certificates? The concept of share certificate is related to this issue of shares by a company. As I have already mentioned in the beginning of this video, shares are instruments through which investors infuse capital in a company. Basically, whenever a company seeks investment, it issues shares worth the amount of investment. These shares are bought by interested investors, and the amount which is paid in exchange are considered as their specific contribution to the capital of the company. Also, the proportion of shares they hold decide their percentage of ownership and voting rights in the company. So, the concept is quite simple and clear, but think about it again. If you were the investor, wouldn't you have asked for a documented proof of your payment or entitlement of your shares from the company? Of course you would. And this is exactly when the company would have issued you a share certificate. So, now do you understand what a share certificate really means? A share certificate is simply a legal document issued by the company to all its investors or shareholders, providing two things. Number 1, that the entity receiving the share certificate is entitled to hold the amount of shares he has bought in the company. Number 2, that the entity receiving the share certificate has already paid the entire amount for the worth of shares he holds in the company. But when does the company issue share certificates? Let me explain. A company issues share certificates once immediately after incorporation, and then subsequently whenever shares are allotted to new shareholders. After incorporation, the Companies Act makes it mandatory for companies to issue share certificates to all their shareholders within 60 days from the date on which the incorporation certificate was issued. The duration is same for subsequently issued share certificates as well, with the only difference being that 60 days in case of subsequent issues will be counted from the date of allotment of shares and not the date of incorporation of the company. But what if the company fails to issue the shares within these 60 days? Well, then a penalty of not less than Rs 25,000 extendable up to Rs 5 lakhs will be imposed on the company, and further, every officer in default will be penalized with an amount not less than Rs 10,000 and extendable up to Rs 1 lakh. The compliance does not end with the issue of share certificates only. These certificates will also have to be stamped by the local stamps office within 30 days from the date of their issue and upon the payment of the prescribed stamp duty. So, if the certificates are not stamped within 30 days, additional stamp duty will be imposed, which may extend to 10 times the stamp duty normally applicable on the certificate. We will discuss the stamping of share certificates in detail later in this video. For now, let me proceed with the discussion on what share certificates actually contain. Detailed content and format of share certificates. Share certificates can be issued in physical form or dematerialized form. Dematerialized share certificates are electronic versions of physical share certificates. These are issued by the companies in the same way and within the same duration as those of physical share certificates. Even the stamp duty applicable on the two are exactly the same. Once issued, demat shares are transferred to the bank account of the concerned shareholder and gets further stored in depositories like NSDL, National Securities Depository Limited, or CDSL, Central Depository Service Limited. As far as the content of these share certificates are concerned, it can be divided into three categories. Number 1, details of the company. 2, details of the shareholder. And 3, details of the shareholding. Among the details of the company, share certificates contain its name and registered address. Among the details of the shareholder, you will definitely find his name, address, and occupation. And finally, among the details of his shareholding, the certificate will mention the number of shares bought, the issue of price of each share, the class of each share, and the date on which the share certificate was issued. Lastly, the share certificate will be signed by any 2 authorized directors of the company, or 1 authorized director and a company secretary appointed by the company. Affixing the seal of the company on the share certificate has now become optional. Moving on to the process followed for issuing a share certificate, the company will have to follow these simple steps. Process of issuing a share certificate. You must already be knowing that the sole decision-making authority in a company is its board of directors. So, obviously, neither the allotment nor the final issue of the share certificates can take place without their approval. With this fact in mind, let me explain the stepwise process of issuing a share certificate. Calling a board meeting to approve allotment of share certificates. The first step is to call a meeting of the board of directors. In this meeting, the board will constitute an allotment committee to prepare a detailed report on the allotment of share certificates. This report would basically contain the names of all shareholders and the number and classes of shares allotted to them. Once the report is prepared, it is placed before the board of directors and a resolution is introduced to approve it. If this resolution gets passed, the report will be considered approved and the process can move to the next stage. Preparation of register of members and share certificates. Once the report of allotment committee is approved, the company secretary will prepare a register of members mentioning the names of the shareholders to whom share certificates will be allotted. The register will contain all the other details of allotment as well. Share certificates will be drafted based on the information mentioned in the register and will be later signed by the authorized signatory. Calling a board meeting to approve issues of share certificates. After the share certificates are all drafted, the board of directors will have to meet again. This time the meeting will held to approve the final issue of share certificates to the members, for which the directors will have to pass a resolution again. With the passing of the resolution, the process of issuing a share certificate finally ends. But do you remember, earlier in this video I had said that merely issuing a certificate is not enough. You will have to get it stamped by the concerned authority. So, after understanding the process of issuing a share certificate, let us understand the process of getting a share certificate stamped. Process of stamping a share certificate. To get a share certificate stamped, an application has to be made to the local stamp office along with certain basic necessary documents. I will list all the documents later in this video. For now, let me proceed ahead with the process. So the first step of the process is to access the application for share certificate stamping. Now, since stamping is state subject, every Indian state has a different format and mode of application. In some states, the application can be accessed online on specific public websites, whereas in others, the only mode of application is 100% offline. Anyway, after you have to access the application, you can fill it and submit it to the concerned stamp office. Once you have submitted the application, the stamp office will issue an order of stamp duty payable. The order will contain the amount of stamp duty to be paid and the concerned entity who is liable to pay for it. Following the issue of the order, the payment will have to be completed using any of the permitted modes like net banking, demand draft, debit card, credit card, NEFT, and so on. After the payment is completed, an acknowledgement receipt will be generated. You must immediately submit the receipt to the stamp office to complete the process of stamp duty payment on share certificate. I repeat, stamp duty payment must be completed within 30 days from the date of issue of share certificates. Now let me list the documents you are required to submit for the stamp duty payment. Documents required for stamping of share certificate. So the table you are going to see on your screen is the complete list of documents you need to submit with the application for stamp duty payment on your share certificate. Let me list these to you one by one. The list of documents for stamp duty payment on share certificate. Number 1. Signed share certificate. 2. Copy of company's certificate of incorporation. 3. Copy of company's MOA and AOA. Form PAS3, intimation to the ROC regarding the paid-up capital of the company. List of all shareholders to whom share certificates have been issued. Copies of board resolutions regarding allotment and final issues of share certificate. Complete list of company's directors and board resolution authorizing the signatory of share certificate, along with the letter of authorization. So we have now reached this end of the video. I hope I have answered all your questions, but if you have still any further queries, you can ask us in the comment section or directly contact our stamp advisors. Contact details are given in the description box. And if you found this video helpful, do like, share and subscribe our channel for more information. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that every time we post a new video, you are the first one to get notified. Thank you for watching and do watch our other videos as well.